Billy Carson, your favorite.
This is my boy. Yeah, I've done a lot of like little short responses to him on TikTok and Instagram.
Real quick, he has this view of these ancient aliens coming down and making all of our civilization, technology, all that sort of stuff, and they are called the Anunnaki.
Yeah, it's just Zachariah. It's just recycled Zachariah Sitchin stuff that has been debunked time and time again.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna play some of his views specifically about the Bible getting it wrong yet again.
Bible. In the Bible, where you see the word God everywhere, that's a mistranslation by accident on purpose. The original word is gods with an S. It's always with an S. When you back engineer the actual word, the translations, you find out it's gods, not God singular. Elohim is also a plural term. It's not a singular term. And you also discover that Yahweh is actually Enlil from the Sumerian cuneiform pantheon.
It's just the errors are piling up. It's hard to believe someone can make so many errors in a short span of time. So the word Elohim is not a plural word necessarily.
Yeah.
It's a concretized abstract plural.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, give an example. The English word sheep. You can have one sheep or many sheep.
Okay.
It's a plural word. You can use it as singular. Same with Elohim. It can be used to refer to many or one. And we know based on the context, like Genesis 1, it says Elohim, but all the verbs are singular. So God is creating singular. It's not the gods. And Elohim really doesn't mean gods. It means, Michael Heiser points out, it basically means anything of the divine or spiritual realm. So in the Bible, angels are called Elohim,
Right.
sons of God. Samuel, when he's dead, is called an Elohim. Anything in the divine realm can be an Elohim, but Yahweh is very, very unique and special Elohim. So we don't really have a good word in ancient Hebrew that translates to our English word gods, but Elohim is the closest, so that's what we use. So that's kind of what it is. Then Carson had the audacity to say that Yahweh is Enlil. Okay, Enlil is a Mesopotamian deity. He's like the king of the gods. He's the god of wind, the god of storms, kind of. No, there's no Assyriologist or biblical scholar that makes that connection. There's no connection. You can even do that in the Bible. If there was, Carson would cite it. He can't cite anything here.
Is he saying that maybe because before Abraham has an encounter with Yahweh, he's perhaps following some Mesopotamian traditions and way of life?
I don't know where he's getting that from. I think what's happening is some scholars have made this conjecture. There's no evidence for this, okay? This is a conjecture, and it let's be honest, it is. Some real scholars like Mark Smith and others have said that maybe Yahweh was originally some storm deity that came from like the south, Canaan, maybe Midian, perhaps, somewhere around there. Okay, so storm deity. Enlil was also a sky god, or not a sky god, but like a wind and storm deity. So then he's conflating them.
Okay.
It's conjecture upon conjecture. All of our earliest texts say that never say Yahweh was a storm deity. Yeah. He's always said to be some sort of like a high creator deity, like Numbers 23 says he's El. So he's the high creator. Never once is he called a son of El, a storm god. No texts say that. So scholars have to make this reconstruction, liberal scholars do, about who they think Yahweh originally was before he evolved to be the omnipotent creator that he is in the Israelite religion. But it's a conjecture based on very, 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 very limited data, and I've gone through this numerous times. It's not well supported. And so I think what Carson is doing is taking what he's heard and he's then making another conjecture on top of that, saying, well, if, then maybe he's also was Enlil. But no Assyriologist or biblical scholar I know conflates Yahweh and Enlil. That's just nonsense.
Cuneiform text. He's Enlil. It becomes Yahweh in the biblical text. And there's all these correlations between the different ancient characters from the Sumerian text end up in the biblical text. And you find out in the book of Deuteronomy that these gods are fighting each other over resources and people. So if you read, anyone who reads the book of Deuteronomy begins to realize this probably isn't the creator of the universe that wrote this. When God tells people, God is supposed to be all-knowing, all-loving, ain't he the same all the time? Then all of a sudden, you read in the book of Deuteronomy and he's saying, there's one person in this city that doesn't like me. I want you guys to go over there. Now, keep in mind, they've never met these people. Kill the women, kill the children, kill their animals, and bring the spoils of war back to me. Now, what kind of God needs the spoils of war, and what kind of God needs to kill children?
Okay, let's pause it there. So this is a common argument against that. The Bible doesn't say that. This is a case of misreading scripture with modern eyes.
Okay.
It doesn't say kill children. So it uses a term haram that we translate as destruction. And it's a more general term. John Walton, says it best is translated as to remove from use. So if you got an identity like the Canaanites, remove that identity from use, not literally slaughter, commit genocide. Scholars like K. Lawson Younger Jr. have noted a lot of what's going on in Deuteronomy and the book of Joshua is called hagiographic hyperbole.
Okay.
So we read in the annals of Tutmosis III, he says he fought against the armies of Mitanni, utterly annihilated, wiped them out, left no one alive. Why does his son Amenhotep II have to sign a treaty with Mitanni, a peace treaty? I thought his father wiped him out.
Right.
No, it's hyperbole. Same as happening in Joshua and Deuteronomy. It's like the best I can do is an analogy to like modern sports games. This is not the best analogy, but you get the idea. Like one team annihilated the other. They just won a game. Same with kind of the thing going on in the ancient Near East. It's saying like just utterly destroy them. But that doesn't mean you kill literally every person, including the children. It means you defeat them in battle. You send them running, fleeing from the land you're taking. Right. And the people are scattered and they assimilate into new cultures. That original identity has been destroyed. Walton and his son, in their book, The Lost World of the Israelite Conquest, make this comparison. When the Allies went in to defeat Nazi Germany, we destroyed the ideology. We destroyed the Nazi ideology. We didn't commit genocide. We didn't kill literally every Nazi, but we destroyed the identity. The Israelites are doing the same thing with these abhorrent cultures that are practicing child sacrifice. They're destroying that identity. But that doesn't mean the people are destroyed. Even the book of Judges talks about all these Canaanites still among them, that they're still around all the Israelites and worshiping their gods. So obviously, this wasn't genocide as it's commonly portrayed.
Yep.
We got to read these texts in the ancient cultural context, and this is hyperbole.
Yeah, and he's taking it hyper literally, unfortunately.
Verse in there in the book of Deuteronomy where God tells a man, if you see a woman walking through the land and you decide to rape her, and the word rape is the actual word, look it up, you can. And if after you rape her, if you decide you want to make her your wife, you can keep her as your wife too. Now you have rape and abduction. Now, you're saying to yourself, the creator of the universe, okay, has all power, all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. Why in the world would he write stuff like that or give a man the ability to write stuff like that to put in his book? So in some cases...
Okay, so with the Deuteronomy, there's actually different conflicting passages. There's one that says if you find a woman in the field and you rape her, you need to be put that man to death. There's another one about them being in a village, and there's debate about how to interpret that. But the problem is that people are looking at Deuteronomy and the Mosaic Law in general in the wrong way. This isn't a law code. No one would have read that in ancient Israel and been like, yes, this is the law of the land of Israel. This is a treatise on judicial wisdom. It's like Proverbs. Proverbs is teaching you how to think about ethics and morality. It's not giving you literally every do and don't. Deuteronomy is not giving you laws. It's giving you case laws. So cases in the past and how things were decided in this instance or that instance. It's not giving you universal laws for Israel. It's a treatise on judicial wisdom. It's teaching you how to think about justice in that ancient Near Eastern context. Not even justice generally, like universally. It's teaching you how to think about justice in that culture. No one read the Code of Hammurabi as if this was the laws that Hammurabi gave to his people. That was a way for him to show his wisdom. Same with the Torah. It was not a law in its original context. So you don't read these laws, oh yes, it's okay to rape women. That's not what it's doing. It's giving you certain cases and what you could do in ideal settings, but you obviously need to apply circumstances. Like throughout Deuteronomy, it talks about going to see a judge to decide cases. If judges are needed, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, well, you already have the law. Just consult what the Torah says.
Right.
Notice when David is caught in an affair with Bathsheba, why wasn't he just put to death? Because that's what the law says in Deuteronomy. They don't do that. He gets other punishments. Because, again, they didn't look at Deuteronomy or the Mosaic Law as if it was a law. This is case law or hypotheticals to sort of get you to think how justice should possibly work in an ideal setting or how you should think about justice in that ancient Near Eastern context. But it's not even ideal. Jesus says in Matthew 19, the law of divorce was given because your hearts were hard. So a lot of what's happening in Deuteronomy is a compromise was a stiff-necked people of their time. It's not even like God's like ideal setting. He admits so much in places like 1 Samuel 8, Numbers 22, Matthew 19, that like this is from input from Israel. This is not ideal. This is a treatise on judicial wisdom for its time, not something that is supposed to be a divine law for all people in all times.
Where I always thought the conditions for this sort of stuff in the law was that rape is punishable by death in certain instances, right? So it's interesting that I think his tactic that he's using is he's just stonewalling Patrick Bet-David with just like all these random things. He says like 7 things, and there's like Patrick Bet-David's a great interviewer, but he's not a biblical scholar,
Right.
So just the time we have to stop every point he made, we would have to stop, challenge it, give a whole explanation for why he's wrong, and in an interview like this, he's just I'm gonna give you 7, 8, 9 different things.
He's gish galloping.
Yeah. What is gish galloping?
Gish galloping it can be a fallacy. I don't think it's a fallacy here because this is an interview. It's where you try to overload your opponent with so many arguments you can't respond to. I wouldn't call it a fallacy here, but he's still gish galloping.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not talking about the creator of the universe. We have to be able to discern that. We have to be able to have the eye to see that some of this is manipulation for the power of people to put on top of other people. In the New Testament, Jesus says, honor your slave master. Now, why would we want to honor a slave master?
Okay, Jesus
as you would honor me.
Paul says,
So he's flat. That's a flat out misquote.
It's a flat out misquote.
Yeah, maybe he misspoke, but either way he's wrong.
Yeah. What's funny is Paul says, slaves obey your masters is what he says. But then Paul says in the very same passage, and masters do likewise to your slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So everything slaves do to their masters should do to their slaves.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same message of the book of Philemon. Treat each other as brothers, serve each other equally. So Paul is kind of like undermining slavery with like subtle comments. And this is important because most of the early Christians were slaves or the underprivileged or the poor. Imagine if Paul wrote to them, yes, slavery should be abolished.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would have happened to the early church? They would have been killed, slaughtered by the Romans because it would have been interpreted as a slave revolt. So Paul is very intelligent, very clever. He doesn't just outright say it, but he uses little things to start to undermine slavery. Yes, obey your master's slaves, but masters also do everything your slaves are doing. You should do to them likewise. Everyone should be equal. You should be serving each other. And as later Christian writers came to the realization, this makes slavery null and void. Slavery isn't, if masters should be serving their slaves in the same way slaves are serving their masters, what's the point of slavery at that point? So this is why we see coming out of Christian culture the abolition of slavery. We don't see it coming out of any other culture.
Yeah.
Billy Carson lies constantly. I've corrected him on numerous things. That book, actually, he's got up there, The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. There's a funny story behind that. He constantly promotes that as if it's like ancient wisdom. It's not. So the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, not the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, which is an actual ancient text from the 2nd or 3rd century, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth came from a guy named Maurice Dorel. He claims he went to Egypt, claims he went to the Great Pyramid, claims he found emerald tablets, and that the deity Thoth, the Egyptian deity, showed up and taught him how to translate it, claimed they were like 36,000 years old. Then he never provided the emerald tablets. He just provided his translation of them.
So wait. This sounds a lot like another story with tablets.
Oh, it sure does.
So there's these tablets. He allegedly finds these tablets. He's able to perfectly translate these tablets,
sure.
But we don't have the tablets.
It's Joseph Smith recycled nonsense, yeah. Except now, instead of gold tablets or gold plates, they're emerald tablets. And so Billy Carson thinks they're real. But it's just nonsense from Maurice Dorel. There's nothing there that's...
And so that his source for all this stuff is not these tablets, it's Maurice Dorel.
Basically. There's no such thing as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Maurice Dorel made them up and pretended he translated them and got insight from Thoth, this ancient Egyptian deity of wisdom. But it's just... Yeah, Billy Carson promotes some pretty crazy stuff, and it's utter nonsense.
Yeah, again, he has the answers. A small select people were able to get this translation, and... yeah, he's pushing. Incredible success of our Bless God prayer journal. Many of you guys began to ask for something that had a planner. And so we combined our Bless God prayer journal with a brand new leadership planner that jam-packs the same things from our prayer journal with a planner, goal setting, leadership meeting, and notes. With the next pages, you can see different sections right along here of this leadership planner where you can start out with actionable goals, 12 months of calendar, our original prayer journal prompts, our leadership journal with the proven problem solution framework, and of course, just free write notes. This leadership planner is based off of Matthew 25, 14 through 30, which of course is the parable of the talents. The vision of the planner is to help you make the most of your time, talent, and treasure. Head over to blessgod.shop and get yours today. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.